The Kalish Dominion had cataloged 4,000 sentient species across 11,000 years of expansion. Every single one of them, without exception, had a natural predator somewhere in their evolutionary past. Every single one of them understood, on some bone-deep instinctual level, what it meant to be hunted. Except, as First Speaker Vren Aatox was about to discover, 1. The Dominion cruiser, Ashfall Certainty, had entered Saul's system 8 hours ago, broadcasting the standard first contact overture, a mathematical greeting, a peaceful intent beacon, and right because protocol demanded a show of strength before negotiations, a full sensor sweep of the third planet's defenses. The sweep came back wrong. Run it again, Vren said, his 4 eyes narrowing at the display. Beside him, Tactical Officer Sresa Korn's mandibles clicked in irritation. I've run it 6 times, First Speaker. Their planetary defense grid is a joke. Scattered satellites. Half their military hardware is decades obsolete by their own records. No orbital weapons platforms. No planetary shield. Then why, Vren said slowly, does every apex predator on that planet's surface behave like we're the ones being hunted? He wasn't speaking figuratively. The Dominion's bioscan had picked up something the analysts flagged as an anomaly, and then, disturbingly, confirmed as a pattern: large predator populations on Earth. The striped cats, the pack canines, the ocean's ancient sharks, did not treat the human settlements as territory to avoid. They treated them as territory that had already been claimed by something worse. Down on the surface, in a farmhouse outside a town called Larkspur, Montana, Cody Reyes was not thinking about aliens. He was thinking about the fence line his grandfather had built 40 years ago, and how a mountain lion had gotten bold enough this month to take 2 calves. He didn't know that in 6 hours, a species 400 light-years old would be studying his species. Wikipedia page with something approaching religious horror. The Dominion's cultural database, assembled from 3 centuries of quietly skimming. Earth's unencrypted communications had been compiled by a junior analyst named Threll, who was now standing in front of the First Speaker's command chair, looking like she wanted to be anywhere else in the galaxy. Show me, Vren said. Threll's presentation began simply enough. Humans were an apex predator on their homeworld, unremarkable by Dominion standards. No natural venom, no claws worth mentioning, no armor plating, mediocre speed, unremarkable strength. So what am I looking at, analyst? They compensate, Threll said. First Speaker, they've been the apex predator on their planet for roughly 200,000 years. Before that, they were prey. Something in their evolutionary history broke that arrangement permanently, and they never stopped preparing for it to happen again. She pulled up the first archive. A species that had hunted the largest mammal ever to exist, an animal larger than their own ships. Shuttlecraft, using wooden boats and iron. Then a species that mapped the ocean floor before they mapped their own moon, because they were afraid of what might live in the dark. Then a species that built weapons capable of ending their own civilization, and instead of using them, wrote entire libraries about not using them. Treaties, doctrines. A network of silos and submarines whose sole purpose was to guarantee that, if anyone ever did use one, everyone would die together. Mutually assured destruction. They called it a peace strategy. That's not defense, Sresa said, staring at the screen. That's a species that decided the safest way to handle a threat is to make sure there's no version of the future where the threat wins alone. There's more, Threll said, and her voice had gone quiet. They domesticated wolves, not by taming the aggression out, by keeping it and pointing it. They took one of the deadliest predators on their world and turned it into something that sleeps at the foot of their children's beds. Vren felt something cold settle behind his sternum, a feeling he hadn't experienced since his species' own homeworld had been young and dangerous. Show me their response protocols.
What do they do when something arrives that they don't understand?
The answer came up on screen. Centuries of records. Strange lights in the sky, unexplained signals, unidentified craft. And every time, across every nation, across every era, the human response had never been to flee. It had been to look closer. They're not afraid of the unknown, Threll said. They're afraid of not knowing the unknown. To them, those are different problems, and only one of them keeps them up at night. The Ashfall certainty held position at the edge of Earth's gravity well while the Dominion command staff debated a question they had never needed to ask before. Not whether Earth was a threat, but what category of threat. They have no orbital defenses, Shresa said, because they don't need one. Every apex predator that ever tried to challenge them for the top of that food chain is extinct or in a zoo. They're not defending territory. They already won that fight 10,000 years ago and forgot they were supposed to be nervous about it. Vren looked at the swirling blue marble on the view screen, unshielded, undefended, and utterly unbothered. Send the greeting beacon, he said finally. First Speaker, not the overture. The real one. Tell them who we are. Tell them where we're from. Ask them. He paused, choosing the words the way a man chooses his footing on ice. Ask them what they'd like to know about us first. Shresa blinked all four eyes. You want to let them ask the questions? Shresa, Vren said, we have spent 8 hours learning that this species survived its own extinction-level weapons, tamed its own monsters, and never once in 200,000 years stopped looking over its shoulder for the next thing that might try to eat it. He exhaled. I would very much like it to be clear, from the very first conversation, that we are not that thing. Down in Larkspur, Montana, Cody Reyes' phone buzzed with a national emergency alert he'd remember for the rest of his life. He looked up at the sky, squinted, and did what humans had always done when something new and unexplained showed up over the horizon. He grabbed his rifle, called his dog, and walked outside to go take a look.